Hello, and thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Joke Rogers at Channels Television here in Lagos, and I'm joined by Vincent McCory from the Voice of America in Washington.
Well, thanks. I'm Vincent McCory at the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Joke Rogers in Lagos brings you that story.
The final day of the Women Live to Health conference ended with workshops designed to equip women health practitioners for leadership and a charge to them to transform knowledge and experience gained into results. Our correspondent, Bukola Koka, reports from Tanzania.
So in this particular approach of the conflict dynamics profile,
what would the advocacy for more women in public health leadership be without the women soliciting the support of the men, especially in a challenging world?
Not a constant, can change at any time.
Therefore, this important subject matter formed the opening theme for the first panel on the last day of the conference, covering other themes like navigating workplace politics and gender bias in the workplace. The potential women leaders in this nucleus are being equipped to recognize and manage the challenges along the pathways to attaining the leadership positions required to achieve the desired results in public health.
Leadership is a lifetime journey. It's a privilege and should be intentional. And as Anita Zaidi emphasized, gender cannot be a side issue. We need to have collective action to change the narrative and reimagine leadership.
It looks like it's a women role, but the talk that we had in the morning about men being allies and having them on board is helpful because it changed the conversation, where we don't just see men as like the enemies, understanding they also have a part to a role to play and also involving them.
Some Nigerian women commissioners and the special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on health share their gleanings from the conference.
We have so many policies for the health sector, and one of my mandates is implementing this policy.
It's important because it also gives us opportunities to learn how to step up our skills in leadership in the country and how we can play a better role guiding policy to ratios and also rationalization of policy.
The founder of the Women in Leadership Advancement Network, Willen, speaks on the prospects of Nigerian women commissioners participating in the conference.
For a lot of the female commissioners and even the special advisor to the president who have come to this conference, there were immense opportunities for networking. We had over 800 delegates attend this conference, so immense opportunities to learn and to share best practices.
The Women Lift Health Global Conference, we have convened funders, implementers, healthcare givers, and public health practitioners in a vibrant ecosystem. But what's more important is the results that should be discernible in the human health indicators of the countries represented here, such that this 3-day exercise would not have been just another talk show. From Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, Bukola Koka for Channels Television News.
And to see how more women health practitioners can tap into this, we're joined on the program by the Commissioner of Health in Ogun State, Dr. Tomi Koka. Pleasure having you today on the program.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Right, so, the Women Live to Health Global Conference prides itself, in building up women, especially to, get more out of what they do in the health sector. What were the high points of the conference, for you for this year?
I think that conference was phenomenal. I've never in my life been in a room with accomplished women of that caliber and all ready to engage with people and inspire people to lift them up as women leaders into positions of influence. And the highlights were that women have to be at the table, at the decision-making table. When you look at the health sector, 90% of the workers at the forefront are women. Then you find that only 25% become middle management, whereas when it gets to the very top, 70% of the decision makers are men in global health particularly, which then means that the perspective of women are not duly represented when decisions are being made. So the conference was about making sure that women at the decision table and that women are sponsored by men and women to be at the decision table, because women alone cannot fight that fight. It's about gender equality. That's what they're pushing for at the leadership level. You need men allies to come along and de-risk women. If a man has to sponsor, he's more likely to sponsor another man into leadership position rather than the woman. And what we're asking for is men should start taking consideration, looking at women with talent and sponsoring them to have a seat at the table and have a voice.
Right, and aside from, having more men, support women in this leadership initiative we're talking about, how can the female delegates, that went from Nigeria, people like yourself, how can they tap into the skills learned to ensure that they broaden their horizon, and make their workplaces, better places to work?
So one of the skills we were taught is the mentorship skills and actually coaching. So not only do we get coached, we're encouraged to actually lift other women up and looking out for women with talent, building their capacity and creating opportunities for them to take those leadership roles so that with time, they become confident to take the high-level leadership roles. So, for instance, for me in Ogun State, I've been practicing that since the beginning of this year. We had opportunities to build capacity, and I just said the ratio would be 3-to-1, 3 women to 1 man, because as it is, there are more men at the table, so the more, because sometimes when the opportunity arises, you are looking for women because they haven't taken time to build themselves up because they haven't been encouraged. So what I've decided to do is prepare our women in health sector so that when the opportunity arises, they're ready to take it.
Right, and it's instructive to note that the conference was held in Tanzania, which also has a female president, and the health sector is also progressing well. So what lessons can Nigeria learn from that?
I'll try and go beyond that. If you look at the research that came out of the COVID-19 pandemic, the countries that did well were the countries that were led by women. And a lot of research showed that women leaders, national leaders, spent more on health, invested more on initiatives that promoted social security, leading to better health outcomes. So I think that's a major lesson to be learned by Nigeria. And I can actually celebrate governors, because in my first term, we only had 3 women out of the 37, which was like less than 10%. Right now, we have 9 female commissioners, which is 25% of the leadership of health. So we are progressing. And I think if we continue on that note, you have better perspective, better decision-making, and better outcomes for women, children, and the entire population.
Right, and I can imagine, that kind of conference will attract a lot of opportunities, especially for subnationals. You represented Ogun State. So what areas of investment and partnerships open up for, delegates in general, but, from Nigeria?
So the 2 main issues health-wise in the global health are malaria for us in sub-Saharan Africa and maternal and childcare. And that was, there were opportunities. There was Rollback Malaria, who is a development partner, who is a combination of WHO, UNICEF, UNFPA to actually eliminate malaria. Nigeria at the moment contributes the most number of malaria deaths. So we met with the delegates from Rollback Malaria, and we will be leveraging on that. Also, there was Bill and Melinda Gates, who was the main sponsor of the conference, and they are big on maternal and child health, and we'll continue to engage with them to reduce the maternal and child deaths in Nigeria, mortality in Nigeria, particularly in the conflict zones where the health needs are actually peculiar. And they met with my female commissioner colleagues from Zamfara, from Kaduna, from Sokoto, where they've had challenges with IDPs. So we're looking forward to further working with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on this.
Right. Commissioner for Health in Ogun State, Dr. Tomi Kuka, pleasure having you today on Africa 54.
Thank you for having me once again.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. After the break, with over 1 million child marriages in Zambia, we learn about attempts to end the practice. Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent Makori in Washington. According to the UN, about 1.7 million Zambians under the age of 18 are married, and more than 400,000 were 15 or younger when they got married. Kathy Short in Lusaka reports on attempts to end child marriage.
19-year-old Natalia Tembo was rescued from child marriage by her mother after she got pregnant in 9th grade. Her father set up the marriage but has since passed away. Upon his death, Natalia's mother was able to remove her from the marriage and enroll her back in school.
It feels great to go back to school, as I had stopped when I was pregnant. Although I feel different with my friends, as I have a child and they don't have. But it's fine. I'm supposed to be in school.
30-year-old Landa Sodala Mulima advocates against child marriages. She ran away at age 15 when her uncle tried to arrange a marriage for her.
I studied insurance, and I'm working with Madison Life Insurance. So if I was married when I was much younger, I was not going to know the worthy or the true meaning of education. I'm able to work. I'm able to buy anything that I want because I went back to school.
Barnabas Mwanza is the child protection specialist at UNICEF, one of the UN agencies working to reduce child marriages in Zambia.
Zambia is among the highest rate of child marriage in sub-Saharan Africa. So currently we are at 29%.
Child marriage is a formal or informal union involving a person under 18. Most countries view it as a violation of international rights. Recently, Zambia passed a law called the Children's Code Act. One of its provisions is a prohibition on child marriage, and since its passage, the Zambian non-profit Families and Nations says 1,000 child brides have been withdrawn from their marriages and taken back to school. The group also says that child marriage rates have declined in the past year. Angela Chomba Kawandami is the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services.
The government has enacted the Children's Code Act number 12 of 2022. This ensures the protection and well-being of children in Zambia.
But Zambia, in effect, has two legal systems. One system is based on English law, and the other customary laws, which are based on the different traditions of Zambia's 73 ethnic groups. While Zambian law sets the minimum age for marriage at 21 years, some customary laws allow child marriage with parental consent starting at the age of puberty. To solve the problem, the government recently introduced a bill in Parliament that would supersede customary law and make all child marriages illegal and punishable in court. Currently, a child in Zambia is legally defined as any person below the age of 16. Kathy Short, VOA News, Lusaka, Zambia.
A community in Benin Republic is turning banana tree fiber into eco-friendly products. This is part of efforts to preserve the environment. Take a listen.
Community residents in Benin have embraced eco-friendly production methods by utilizing banana tree fiber to create various items and clothing in the village of Akodeha, located in the commune of Kome. This is led by agricultural entrepreneur Kosi Jiko with members of the Cooperative Africa Terra. Spearheading this sustainable initiative, it is a meticulous process of transforming banana tree fiber into products like hats, bags, and decorative items. However, despite the villagers' dedication to eco-friendly practices, community members face challenges accessing necessary materials and resources. Kosujigo highlights the need for assistance in providing essential resources, emphasizing that without electricity, production becomes difficult.
Il y a un projet qu'on appelle BBTV de l'université.
In Akodaha here, there is no electricity in the village, and without electricity, the production will not be abundant. Soon, people will start asking for even more.
Established in 2000, Africa Terra, led by Jiko, focuses on banana cultivation and direct production of fiber-based items. The cooperative aims to enhance the weaving quality of products continually. Olivia Akoho, a beneficiary of basketry training and Africa Terra, praised the latest prototype of hats, describing them as original and of very good quality.
Here is the prototype of a hat made from banana fiber that we have made. We gradually improved the weaving quality of the hat by releasing this latest prototype, which is very pretty and fine. It is original and of very good quality, and compared to models made with other raw materials existing on the market.
The cooperative's efforts extend beyond local markets, with Jiko expressing plans to elevate the production chain to an industrial level, patent the brand and expand its market reach not only within Benin, but also across the African sub-region and globally. Through their commitment to sustainable practices and innovative approaches, the community members of Akodeha are demonstrating the potential of eco-friendly production in fostering economic growth while preserving the environment.
In Mogadishu, the troubled capital of Somalia, elderly citizens gather every afternoon in the Bondere district for an archery contest. The activity is part of a deeper historical tradition. Jamal Ahmed Osman has more about this unique activity.
Yusuf Bali Mohammed is in his early 60s and has been practicing archery for over 2 decades. He was once a hunter. He shares the history behind his favorite pastime.
We chose archery because freedom fighters like Syed Mohammed Abdul Hassan use arrows and bows against the Ethiopian invading forces and other colonialists.
The target, a shoe, placed at a distance ranging between 200 and 400 meters. Some of these elders do not need glasses to hit the mark. Ali Hussein Ahmed Sandiri, a 63-year-old archer, has been practicing since he was 13 years old.
It is a tradition passed down from generation to generation. We inherited it from our fathers and grandfathers. Islamic scholars used to tell us that this was used for liberation, and we have to keep the practice.
Beyond the competition, these games are an opportunity for the elderly to get together as a community, Sandiri says.
It is not a gambling game. It is not about who lost or who won. We gather once in a while to have lunch, have fun, and pray to God for His blessings.
For these elders, it's a way to stay in touch with the past while exercising to stay young. For Jamal Ahmed Osman in Mogadishu, Somalia, Kevin Enox, VOA News.
Against all odds, an Ethiopian artist who lost both hands as a child is finding the inspiration to follow his passion of painting at 90 years of age. Woku Mamo says he is pursuing his dream of becoming a painter by finishing art school.
Woku Mamo, a 90-year-old Ethiopian artist, has defied the odds to pursue his passion for painting, despite facing a significant challenge. He lost both hands in a bomb blast when he was just 10 years old. In Addis Ababa, the artist is sketching with remarkable skill, using his arm storms to guide the pencil across the canvas as students washed on. Colorful paintings and detailed sketches could be seen in his studio. Despite losing his hands, he says he was determined to pursue his dream of becoming a painter. After finishing art school, he traveled to Russia, where he said he had learned how to live. From Russian people, I learned how to live, and I did not only learn painting from Russian people, but also how people live together. Not seeing people as political and understanding that all Russian people have freedom of thought. Studying at the Repin Institute of Arts in St. Petersburg from 1962 to 1972, he was exposed to a new culture that left a lasting impression on him. If you go about it in peace and diplomatic ways, you live with them for a long time. But if your way of thinking is bad, you will miss many things. He also highlighted the importance of not viewing people through a political lens and recognizing the freedom of thought that all Russians possess.
With a growing concern over greenhouse gas emissions that are blamed for climate change, a Kenyan-Dutch company is introducing electric bikes in sub-Saharan Africa for deliveries in urban areas to help reduce emissions. The transport sector plays a crucial role in reducing greenhouse gas emissions and mitigating the effects of global warming. Juma Majanga reports from Nairobi.
Patrick Ambasu is making a delivery in Nairobi's Hurlingham neighborhood. Ambasu recently switched from a motorcycle to an electric bike. The father of 8 says the bike has not only improved his working conditions, but also increased his earnings.
Electric bikes have eased deliveries and transportation. It has significantly cut costs, like buying fuel for motorcycles. The bike has good speed and can go anywhere, even places a motorcycle can't go.
Motorcycle deliveries, called boda bodas, are common in Kenya. Last year, a Kenyan-Dutch company, EB Africa, began selling electric bikes and electric cargo bikes in Kenya, Uganda and Rwanda for deliveries and commuting. In Kenya, the bikes cost between $580 and $740. EB says more than 800 delivery riders in Nairobi have switched so far. CEO Sten van der Ham says the aim is to accelerate the adoption of clean transport in sub-Saharan Africa to raise incomes and reduce environmental damage through emissions.
What we see is that the earning potential of the people who do last mile deliveries, especially on bodas, is quite low. It's quite expensive to operate a boda when you think about fuel, maintenance. An electric bicycle is 2 to 3 times more affordable. So we solve the affordability of the challenges around last mile deliveries. But also, of course, we contribute to cleaner cities, more livable cities, because there are no carbon emissions when you think about electric bicycles.
The e-bikes, designed and assembled in Kenya, are battery-powered with pedal assist motors with speeds of up to 32 kilometers per hour.
We recommend for riders to bring their bikes for service after 800-kilometer ride. So that's where we can see if the brakes need adjustment, if the gears shift properly, and if the motor runs according to the way it's supposed to.
As African cities continue to develop, EB's Van der Ham says creating bike lanes on roads and other infrastructure for non-motorized transport will be key to its uptake, resulting in many benefits.
So we want to have 1 million bicycles on the road, and through having so many bicycles, the impact on carbon emissions is huge. It will be 6.5 million kilograms of carbon we are going to avoid. But on top of that, there's also economical benefits because we're going to create more than 200,000 jobs as a consequence of having so many bikes on the road.
Experts say that a global move to electric mobility is essential to minimize climate change. And while e-bike transporters in Africa like Ambasu can count the benefits, infrastructural challenges still remain. Juma Majanga, VOA News, Nairobi.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has our last word.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. Do remember that channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Joke Rogers. Thanks for watching and goodbye.